Okay, so the next thing I want to do is go ahead and close this off, and I'm going to do construction lines. So I'm going to change my layer to construction. And under draw, you may remember earlier we learned about doing construction lines. I'm going to click construction line, and I'm going to click here. I just go anywhere over here, and it creates an infinite line horizontally and vertically once I select a second point. I can hit escape. Not escape, dang it. I didn't mean to do that. It always screws me up when I do that because I'm using my AWS. So one of the nightmares for me on the AWS is every time I hit escape it kicks me out. Alright, I'm going to try and go back to draw and do another construction line. And I'll just do another horizontal one. I'll start here and go over. And I'm just 1 inch up because I set everything up to be 1/4 inch increments, so the solid lines are in 1 inch. I'm just going to go back to draw and reactivate this. You can hit escape and do it, but I can't on mine. It will screw up the screen. Alright, so I've got 3 lines, all 1 inch apart. I'm going to do the same thing vertically. I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to use offset. So when I'm going to use the offset up here, I can hit enter to accept through line. When I hit enter, it allows me to select the line and then put the cursor where I want, about where I want it. And before I do anything, I'm going to hit multiple. So down here in the bottom, I can hit multiple. And then I set it at 1, click, and then I just move over, click, and I could just keep clicking until I have however many lines I want. In this case, I have all that I want, so I can move on to the next thing. The next thing is going to be to create the periphery lines. So periphery lines are lines that represent the actual part itself. So I'm going to use the line feature. And I'm simply just going to go and create a line like so, using the intersections of the lines to determine where the lines start and stop. Now, the next thing is to go back to a construction line and create a construction line for the top view. So, under construction, we got to set our layer back to construction. And I'm going to go from here over to here. And I'll do another construction line just to practice that. They're 1 inch up. So just click over here, and then I have 2 lines. That's going to represent my thickness of the part. You'll notice now I can go back to line, and in the periphery, what happened there? Ooh, did I change that? I want to use periphery and use line command. Again, I'm using the intersections of the lines to help me determine what this will look like. This should be pretty easy. It's the 4 lines that would represent the outside of the profile. But see how this construction line helps us identify this little tip right here that needs to come up? So I simply go back to line and create a line from here to here. If I were to turn my construction layers off, kind of helps you get a better visual of what's going on. I'll turn them back on so I can see those. Let's try and reset this back on. And what I'll do next is I'm going to create another construction line. So activate construction line, and I'm just going to make it 1.5 inches apart just to give me some room to do dimensions in between. Maybe even 2 inches would be better. So I'll click here, and I'll click up here to set my vertical line. So this line here would represent this face. Now what I forgot to do was to switch that. So I'm just going to click line to turn that off, and I'm going to switch. Let's see, how do I do this without hitting escape? I want to go back to the construction layer, and I'm going to change this to construction here in a second, but what I'm going to do here is create a line that starts at this intersection. So this intersection defines where the next view is going to be created. So without using any measurements and tools, what I'll do is I'll create a miter line, and I just make it go off a certain distance at a 45-degree angle. See how it says 45 already right there for me? If I just click that, it just creates that line. And then I can go back to construction line, make sure we're in construction, and then right there where that line intersects, that represents this back half of the front view. So that's that back half right here, this line. If I find the intersection of that line and the miter line, and create a construction line that goes straight down, it represents the thickness of the part. I can now go to the line feature, and in periphery, create my lines using all these construction lines to help me identify what lines are needed. So I'll add that line right there. So I went to all the intersections, and I got to create one more line from here to here. Okay, I don't know what else I can do but hit escape and watch this thing do this thing. What I'll do next is, if I want this line to be a construction line, I don't have to rebuild it. I can simply select on it, choose periphery, and select construction line, and it converts that back to a construction line. I'll hit escape, and I've successfully created 3 views that all have construction lines that are projected to represent each edge. Notice I didn't do measurements, I didn't do offsets, I just used these lines, construction lines, to build all the profiles. If all your views don't line up with the construction lines, it means you do not have true orthographic projection. So standards, ANSI ASME standards say all views must be true orthographic projections, and that is how that is done. All right, next we're going to do a hole in this side, and I'll show you how that's done.